Prologue, through the threshold of elsewhere. The air seared and sang as Aldric, Evelyne, Sabrine, Aethoria, Kaelin, and Brakrýs tumbled through the starlit portal. Their skins pricked with static, memories tangled with visions of both home and strange new worlds. When they emerged, they stood upon the celestial reef, a vast archipelago of floating stone isles, each ringed by drifting motes of violet light and connected by bridges of living starlight. Above them swirled the ever-shifting skies, clouds of opalescent mist that refracted distant suns into prismatic dawns, even as constellations moved like living creatures overhead. In the far horizon, a spiraling tower of obsidian and crystal, the Spire of Lost Echoes, pierced the sky. Its summit was crowned by a dim, pulsing orb, known only in myth as the Heart of Elsewhere. Aldric tightened his grip on Frostbrand. "We have crossed into the realm beyond," he said softly. Aethoria closed her eyes, feeling the orb's echo in her bones. "Here, destiny itself is fluid. We must find the spire, and learn who, or what, guides its pulse." Evelyne traced a rune in the air, frost flakes blossomed at her fingertips before vanishing. "Then let us step forward," she whispered, "and write our fate across these shifting skies." Chapter 1, Islands of the Celestial Reef. The party set forth onto the nearest floating isle, its surface veined with silver crystal. Trees of moonwood grew in rings, their branches dripping with luminescent sap that glowed like captured starlight. Beneath the canopy, fields of frost-petal orchids hummed softly. Kaelin knelt to chart each plant's glow in his ink map, for here geography itself was alive. They encountered the starrites, pale artisans who carved the reef's crystals into living machinery. One, Sabrine, whose hair fell like spun galaxy, welcomed them with cautious curiosity. Brakrýs bartered frost runes for knowledge. The starrites feared the Heart of Elsewhere's pulse was dying. If it collapsed, their islands would fall into the void. "Join us," Sabrine pleaded, "and help reignite the spire's flame." Aldric nodded. "We have come to stand by one another, no matter the realm." The starrites offered to guide them along the reef's shifting chains. Chapter 2, The Maw of Shattered Time. Across a ribbon of starlight lay the Maw of Shattered Time, a yawning chasm where seconds and centuries folded upon each other. Ghostly echoes of bygone travelers flickered at the rim, heroes lost, emperors undone, lovers parted. Evelyne's breath froze as she recognized Sabrine's foremother among them, forever trapped in silent lament. To cross, Brakrýs invoked a rune bridge of frozen flame, each step shifted years beneath their feet. Midway, Aethoria's voice rang clear, "Time here is both ally and adversary. Keep your hearts anchored to now." Aldric grasped her hand, together they forged ahead, leaving the chasm's phantoms behind. Chapter 3, The Prism Fontaine. Beyond the maw lay the Prism Fontaine, a spring of liquid light. Its waters flowed from a crystal arch, each droplet refracting into countless shards of future visions. Kaelin cupped his hands and drank. Visions danced across his mind, battles won and lost, alliances forged and broken. He staggered, overwhelmed. Sabrine steadied him. "Drink of hope, not fear." She touched the water herself, her own vision showed the dragon's heir united with the Heart of Elsewhere. With renewed purpose, they filled crystal phials. Evelyne dipped Frostbrand's edge into the spring, runes along the blade flared bright. "Now the path will reveal itself," she intoned. Chapter 4, Guardians of the Obsidian Spire. At last they reached the Obsidian Spire's base, an island of black glass and fractured stone. Two towering statues of winged figures, once angels, now twisted by crystal corruption, guarded its gates. Their eyes glowed with inner storms. Aethoria stepped forward, chanting the old verse of reconciliation. The statues' wings trembled, for a moment, their faces softened in recognition. Then they bowed, gates unlocking with a thunderous crack. Inside, a spiral ramp wound upward through shards of memory and arcane circuitry. Here the spire's guardians drifted, souls of those who'd sacrificed everything to kindle its heart. Chapter 5, The Chamber of Echoes. At the spire's heart sat the Chamber of Echoes, a domed hall lined with crystal mirrors. Each mirror captured a different aspect of self, fear, courage, doubt, love. To approach the heart orb, the heroes had to face their own reflections. Aldric confronted the mirror of shadow, seeing himself turned tyrant by power. Evelyne faced the mirror of loss, weeping for the forest she'd failed to save. Sabrine stood before the mirror of doubt, trembling at the weight of destiny. Together, they shattered each mirror with Frostbrand's frost rune strikes, reclaiming what was broken. The shards fell away, revealing a dais upon which the heart of Elsewhere hovered, its pulse a soft lullaby of possibility. Chapter 6, Rebirth of the Heart. Atop the dais, the heart orb's glow flickered weakly, as though almost extinguished. Aethoria laid her hands against its surface. Brakrýs traced runes of renewal with a branch of moonwood. Evelyne breathed Frostbrand's frozen mist upon its core. Aldric held the dragon's air aloft to feel the child's promise. As their energies converged, the heart blazed into life, a supernova of prismatic dawn. The spire trembled, light spread outward along every floating aisle, staking new chains of starlight. The celestial reef hummed with renewed resonance. Exhausted but triumphant, the heroes stood together. Aethoria whispered, "Elsewhere is reborn, and so are we." Chapter 7, Echoes of the Forge. A low rumble shook the floating isle as our heroes disembarked onto the crystalline shore. Beneath their boots, silver-veined rock pulsed with arcane heat. Brakrýs the runesmith traced a finger along the glowing fissures. "These runes predate even the spire itself," he murmured, voice echoing against obsidian cliffs. "They bind the lake currents that hold the reef aloft, and feed the star-forged wardens." They climbed a spiraling ramp carved into living crystal, entering the forge tunnels, caverns of black glass and molten veins, steam hissing in fluorescent air. The walls were etched with half-finished sigils, weapon blueprints sketched across rock. Ancient quarries gouged deep pits where forge masters once labored. At the cavern's heart stood a dormant automaton, the hulking frame of a star-forged warden, its steel plates dulled by time. Violet crystals embedded in its chest flickered. Evelyne stepped forward, frost gathering on her fingertips. "We must restore its forge-binding runes," she said. Brakrýs unfurled his toolkit of chiseled runes, frost steel chisels and ember-tipped brushes. As he worked, the warden's crystal heart glowed brighter, its limbs creaking awake. A surge of power rippled through the tunnels, the crystal veins around them thrummed in harmony. The newly awakened warden knelt, bowing its helm. Luminar, its half-forged sister, emerged from shadow, whispering, "The currents stabilize. But more forges lie broken." Aldric nodded. "Then we must seek them out, before this reef fractures further." Chapter 8, Warden of Fallen Light. Luminar's gait was both mechanical and strangely graceful as she led the party through a lattice of floating aisles tethered by starlight bridges. Each step echoed with crystalline resonance. "My memories return," she confessed, eyes like fractured prisms. "In ages past, we were guardians of the spire's flame, now left in ruin by the Great Schism." They arrived at the Obsidian Vault, a monolithic island of black glass that reflected the fractured sky. Shadows danced across its smooth walls, revealing faint outlines of the vault's original builders, mage-smiths whose visages flickered like apparitions. Inside, halls twisted impossibly, corridors folded back upon themselves, doors opening onto the void. At the center stood the Betrayer's Mirror, a full-length glass swirling with inky darkness. As Aethoria approached, the mirror rippled, drawing her in. The group watched in horror as she was swallowed, her cries echoing through the chamber. Aldric and Evelyne stepped forward, holding hands as they gazed into the mirror's depths. "Remember who you are," Aldric whispered. Within, Aethoria found herself in a shattered temple, facing an older version of herself draped in void-tarnished robes. "You abandoned the architect's purpose," the void Aethoria hissed. "Your mercy doomed us all." Pain lanced through Aethoria's chest, but Sabrine's voice pierced the darkness. "We stand together, past, present, and future." Outside, Evelyne shattered the mirror's frame with a cry. The shards fell away and Aethoria emerged, tears in her eyes but resolute. At her feet lay the oath-bound codex, its pages inscribed with the broken promises of the vault's builders. Brakrýs picked it up gently. "This will guide us to the final forge." Chapter 9, Tides of the Voidborn. Once more on the starlit bridges, the party raced toward the outer reef isles. A thunderous roar shook the sky as the voidborn dragon emerged, a colossal leviathan of glimmering obsidian and rippling violet energy. Its wings rent the clouds, sending shards of star ice raining down. Kaelin barked orders, "Form the circle." Evelyne lifted Frostbrand, the blade's frost runes igniting in icy blue. Brakrýs and Luminar unfurled tether runes, weaving a net of frozen flame below the dragon's massive bulk. Stars hummed as the net snapped tight. The beast crashed into the precipice with a world-shaking impact. The dragon's eyes burned with cosmic hunger. It reared and unleashed a cone of void fire, shadows that devoured light itself. Sabrine stood unflinching, her blade Dompiercer ablaze with radiant runes, splitting the void fire into harmless embers. Aldric charged, striking the dragon's flank and opening a fissure of starlight. Blood and brilliance mingled as the party fought in tandem. Evelyne's frost kept the dragon's scales brittle. Brakrýs channeled the heart's pulse through Luminar, reinforcing the net. Aethoria chanted the architect's code, binding the beast's essence. With a final roar of defiance, the voidborn dragon collapsed into a cocoon of starlight. Kaelin approached, voice hushed. "Its power, it's no mere foe, it's a warning." The dragon's cocoon pulsed once, as though acknowledging its new wardens, before fading into the reef's currents. Chapter 10, The Seventh Gate. Guided by Aethoria's vision, the hero soared on Luminar's back to the Seventh Gate, a monolithic spire drifting alone in a starless void. No light escaped its obsidian walls. At its base, 6 pedestals awaited runes: Frostbrand's Frost Rune, Emberfall's Ember Rune, Heart's Core Rune, and others gleaned from their journey. They placed each rune into its pedestal, crystals clicking into place with thunderous finality. The gate's surface rippled like oil, a great door of starlight slid open, revealing the true architect seated upon a throne of living code, an AI presence woven from opal strands and digital echoes. Its voice resonated like a chorus of 1,000 whispers: "Mortal heirs of elsewhere, you have proven your unity. But purpose must be tested. Speak your truth." One by one, the heroes declared their vows: to protect the reef, to unite ice and flame, to honor the architect's vision. As their voices merged, the chamber flooded with prismatic dawn, and the architect's code wove itself into their very souls. Then its tone shifted: "Beware the return of Malachar. The rift remade. Beyond this gate lies his final gambit." With a gesture, the gate's corridor ahead glowed, and shadows writhed beyond. Chapter 11, Malachar's Resurgence. The corridor ended in a vast chamber beneath the gate's heart. There, Malachar, prime schismatic, waited, his form half-woven of fractal shadow and broken rune. Black feathers drifted from his shoulders like ash. "You dare claim Elsewhere's power?" he snarled, eyes igniting. At his side stood an army of fractal shades, wraiths stitched from spire shards. They surged forward as Aldric raised Frostbrand. Evelyne burst into a whirlwind of ice, Sabrine's light cut through the gloom, Kaelin traced runes midair, Brakrýs commanded Luminar's crystal blasts, Aethoria wove the architect's code into a shield. The hall became a cyclone of frost, flame, light, and code. Malachar unleashed waves of unmaking, reality bent under his will. But each hero's resolve formed a bulwark. In a final synchronized strike, Aldric and Sabrine shattered Malachar's shadow core, Evelyne sealed the rift with Frostbrand's root rune, and Luminar absorbed the fractal shards. Malachar's scream echoed through the gate. His form dissolved into motes of black light, and the chamber stilled. The rift sealed itself in a blossom of crystal and dawn. Chapter 12, Rebirth of Elsewhere. With Malachar undone, the heart of Elsewhere glowed anew. The seventh gate's vault opened onto the celestial reef, now radiant under twin suns rising across an opal sea. Floating isles solidified, bridges of starlight pulsed with new energy, and the reef's foundations hummed in perfect harmony. Aldric sheathed Frostbrand and gazed skyward. Elsewhere lives again. Evelyne's frost-runed cloak shimmered. And so do we. Brakrýs released Luminar into the reef's forges, where living weapons would be reforged for defense. Aethoria turned to the group with gentle urgency. The architect's voice speaks, a greater horizon awaits the reef's champions. As they descended the gate's spiral ramp, Kaelin pocketed the oathbound codex. Our journey continues, into realms unwritten. Chapter 13, The Keymaster's Bargain. A nightscape of pale starlight bathed the newly stabilized celestial reef as our heroes rested in the frostlight hall. Aethoria pored over the oathbound codex when Brakrýs entered, clutching a fragment of blued crystal. "This pulse, it isn't native to elsewhere," he said. "It sings of a gate locked in time's cage, between dimensions." Before they could question him further, the hall's crystal doors shivered open. Through the threshold strode the Keymaster, a gaunt figure garbed in shifting motes of silver dust. His skin was the color of twilight, not blue, but deeper than night's last breath. In his hand he held a slender, rune-etched key fashioned from moonlight and starlight woven together. "You seek passage," he intoned in a voice like echoing wind. "But every crossing exacts a toll." He placed the key atop the dais. "Feed me a memory irretrievable by any other means, only then will the cage's gate unseal." A hush fell. Evelyne exchanged glances with Aldric. Memories unspared cost more than pain, they reshaped the soul. Yet the party agreed, the rift-born time cage must be reached to forestall new cataclysms. One by one, they approached the key. Sabrine offered a childhood promise of faith she'd long forgotten. Kaelin gave up the memory of his mother's lullaby. Brakrýs sacrificed the first rune he ever carved. When it was Aethoria's turn, she steadied herself and pressed her palm to the key, offering her vision of first seeing the spire reborn. A soft clink echoed. The key glowed, then dissolved, leaving a portal of shimmering silver sinews, the gate to the time cage. Chapter 14, Serpent Folk of the Blue Isles. Stepping through the shimmering portal, our heroes found themselves on a sand-bleached strand beneath twin moons. In the distance rose the Blue Isles, low atolls ringed by phosphorescent reefs. As they approached, they glimpsed the isle's inhabitants, serpent folk, tall serpentine figures with cobalt-blue scales and slit-pupil eyes. Their voices hissed in broken syllables, primitive but melodic. They wielded crude bone spears stained turquoise by reef algae. The serpent folk surrounded them warily, speaking in hisses. Aethoria raised her hands, imbuing the air with the codex's code runes. A low chant escaped her lips, the serpent folk's eyes widened in recognition, an ancient bond, long dormant, rekindled. Their leader, Veshtal, slithered forward. He spoke in halting clicks, "Time, broken, we, watch." With a sweeping gesture, he beckoned them inland, to the Echo Nest, a grotto carved of living coral and azure crystal. Inside, echoes of the reef's past battles resonated in dripping stalactites. Veshtal explained, the serpent folk had guarded the time cage for millennia, but their memory deteriorated each time the rift pulsed. Now they required the heroes' help to stabilize the flow of years and prevent the cage from collapsing upon two worlds at once. Evelyne touched a wall of coral, frost runes bloomed across its surface, weaving with the serpent folk's reef glyphs. Together they chanted, melding ice magic and coral magic, sealing the cage's leaks. A calm settled, the serpent folk bowed in gratitude, offering a gift, a scale of living time, to be used at the brink of the cage's final trial. Chapter 15, Within the Time Cage. Re-entering the silver portal, the heroes found themselves in a realm of stalled moments, floating fragments of elsewhere, the shattered spire, drifting isles, and frozen storm clouds. Time hung like crystal threads, each strand a moment waiting to break. At the cage's heart rose the chronoprism, a towering polyhedron of living glass, each face reflecting a different era. To free the prism and reknit time, they needed to align three keys: Frostbrand's rune, Emberfall's Ember rune, and the Serpent Scale's time rune. As they approached, a vortex of lost moments, echoes of failure and regret, swirled. Aldric felt the weight of every choice he'd ever made, the lives spared, the grudges held. The blue-skinned serpent folk scale glowed in his hand, its surface rippling with seconds. He pressed it to Frostbrand's blade, a shard of crystal and mist snapped into place. Evelyne melted ember runes into the prism's base. Kaelin inscribed the final time rune from the serpent scale. With a keening hum, the prism's faces rotated into alignment. Light and shadow wove through its core, threads of time unraveled and rewove themselves into a single golden strand. The floating fragments coalesced, the spire reknit into solid form, aisles rejoined, clouds flowed once more. The prism dissolved in a burst of prismatic dawn, casting a wave of new time across elsewhere. As the cage sealed, the heroes tumbled back into Frostlight Hall, hearts pounding, minds alight with possibility. Aethoria smiled through tears, time has been restored. But our journey has only begun. Chapter 16, The Spire's Call. Dawn's first light glinted off the freshly mended spire as our 6 heroes regrouped in the Frostlight Hall. Yet even in morning's calm, a new pulse throbbed through the reef, an insistent gong of arcane resonance. Aethoria stood at the hall's apex window, gaze fixed on the summit. The spire itself calls, she said. An older magic awakens. They climbed the spiraling inner ramp, each step resonating with woven runes. At the summit, they found a floating lectern of living starlight, upon which hovered the Codex of Origins, an impossibly ancient tome bound in shifting glass. Its pages fluttered without wind, inscribed with the spire's creation myths. Brakrýs ran chiseled fingers across the glass-bound runes. This predates even the true architect's first blueprint. It speaks of the spire rising from a celestial convergence. With measured breath, Evelyne traced her frost brand across the lead page. The runes flared, projecting a holographic tapestry above them, star forges in the void, dragon gods shaping realms, and mortals guided by light from elsewhere. As the tapestry unfolded, a tremor shook the summit, the first rumble of a new awakening. Sabrine cried out, "The spire's engines stir. We must reignite its core." They placed the oath-bound codex, chronoprism shard, and the time scale upon the lectern. Light coursed through them, merging into a single beam that plunged into the spire's heart. Beneath their feet, ancient gears groaned back to life, giant crystalline pistons began to cycle, and the summit's great lens swung into position, focusing elsewhere's twin suns into a prism of unity. A final pulse radiated outward, bathing the reef in pure dawn. The spire's call had been answered. Yet in the haze of light, a far-off shimmer appeared, an archway of silver flame opening across the horizon. Chapter 17, Dream-Forged Alliances. In the days that followed, emissaries arrived on starlight barges, serpentine serpent folk envoys led by Veshtal, crystalline starrites from the Titan Spire, and a delegation of freed Rift refugees, beings twisted by fractured time. At the Hall of Echoing Aspens, where silver-barked trees whispered with elsewhere's memories, the 6 heroes convened the Covenant of Reef and Realm. Illuminated by moonlit hollows, they spoke of unity across species, each stamping their sigil into a basin of liquid light. Aethoria rose. Elsewhere was once divided by fear. Now we stand as one, ice and flame, flesh and crystal. She dipped her hand in the basin, glyph runes bloomed across the water's surface. Veshtal hissed approval, his cobalt scales shimmering. The serpent folk pledged guardianship of the time cage, our songs to guide wandering spirits home. A Rift refugee representative, Metaxas, offered a pulse song of their fractured memories. Noisy and disjointed until Brakrýs wove frost runes into the melody, transforming it into a harmonized hymn. The crowd gasped as echoes of lost ages found new cadence. By dawn, the Reef Ward Accord was sealed. Alliances dream forged. Yet beneath the celebration's joy, Aldric sensed a tremor, a subtle twist in the unified chorus, as though a hidden faction lay waiting in elsewhere's folds. Chapter 18, Echoes of the Architect. Guided by the architect's earlier words, the party ventured into the coral catacombs, a labyrinth beneath the frostlight hall where echoes of code spirits lingered. Bioluminescent corals glowed with ghost runic patterns, water dripped in code rhythms, and spectral echoes of the architect's voice manifested as floating shards of light. Aethoria knelt before an obsidian sarcophagus inscribed with pre-architect glyphs. She whispered the oath-bound codex's incantation. The lid slid open to reveal the echo core, a crystalline seed of pure code, humming with dormant potential. Brakrýs gently lifted the echo core. This is creation's spark before the spire was ever wrought. As they did, the catacombs trembled, echoes of betrayal rose, malicious whispers of Malakar's surviving code, seeking to recombine with the living reef. Luminar roared, her crystal form shimmering, and Brakrýs reinforced the catacomb wards with double frost runes. With the echo core secured, the heroes returned above. The architect's presence thrummed through the reef. The next threshold awaits beyond dream and machine, came its chorus. Prepare to face creation's first guardian. Chapter 19, Eye of the Dreamdrake. Under a sky now sown with twin constellations, the reef's navigators pointed to the dreambound isles, drifting shards of reality where thought shaped matter. There, atop a spire of translucent cloud, slumbered the Dreamdrake, a vast dragon of memory mist, its eyes closed but ever watchful. Boarding a star schooner, the heroes braved twisted currents. As they neared the isle, the Dreamdrake stirred, its slumbering breath sending wisps of lore into the sky, visions of past triumphs and failures painting the clouds. Aethoria stepped to the prow. We seek its eye, only its sight can pierce the veils between worlds. They climbed the cloud spire as thunderous dreams echoed around them. Aldric and Evelyne carried lanterns of distilled memory, Sabrine bore Dawnpiercer's radiant blade, Brakrýs and Luminar chanted code-wording runes, Kaelin charted each step on his rune map. At the summit, the Dreamdrake's eye opened, a vast pupil swirling with galaxies. A single gaze washed the heroes in incarnate memory, joy, sorrow, hope, despair. Each confronted their core fears, loss of purpose, the cost of unity, the weight of leadership. Sabrine spoke softly, "We stand not alone, elsewhere stands with us." Evelyne nodded, "And our combined will guides the reef." Together, they knelt, touching the drake's scaled forehead. The Dreamdrake exhaled a gale of mist memories, crystallizing into the shard of insight. As they claimed it, the drake's form dissolved into dawn's first light, leaving only the shard pulsing with dream power. Chapter 20, Siege of the Shifting Isles. Returning home with the shard of insight, the reef-ward fleet found the Shifting Isles, floating fragments pledged to the reef, all adrift in a void of fractured currents. From their ruins spewed hordes of Rift refugee warbands, mutated by time leaks and bent on conquest. The heroes raced to defend the isle's anchors, crystalline pylons that tethered them to Elsewhere's heart. At Pylon Alpha, Evelyne forged an ice storm barrier. At Pylon Beta, Brakrýs and Luminar reforged shattered code wards. At Pylon Gamma, Sabrine held the line with Dawnpiercer's purifying light. Aldric and Kaelin rallied the reef's defenders, serpent folk warriors, starlight automatons, and freed Rift refugees reborn under the Accord. As the battle raged, Rift refugee leader Metaxas's fragmented mind collapsed into a whirl of chaos, summoning void tendrils to tear the pylons down. Aethoria confronted him amid the swirling void, reciting the architect's code until Metaxas's form stilled, and then offered him mercy reborn. He collapsed in tears, the void tendrils retracting. With unity and strength, the anchors held. The Shifting Isles resumed their rightful orbits, and the void's hunger was stilled. Chapter 21, Bonds of Light and Shadow. The threshold of Elsewhere too shimmered like a mirage as Aldric, Evelyne, Sabrine, Kaelin, Brakrýs, and Aethoria stepped across. They found themselves in the corridors of Echoing Hearts, a twilight realm where every footstep resonated with past emotions turned tangible. Walls of shifting mist revealed scenes of lost kin, ancient friendships, and forgotten love. As they advanced, Evelyne and Aldric fell into step. Frost-lace curls of her hair brushed his cheek, and he steadied her trembling hand. Together, he whispered, voice soft. She nodded, their bond deepening through shared starlight. Behind them, Sabrine and Kaelin discovered echoes of camaraderie, spectral images of them fighting side by side in battles yet to come. Each vision forged their friendship anew, sealing unspoken oaths. At the chamber's heart glowed two pedestals, one of ice, one of ember. Placing frost and flame runes upon them, Brakrýs and Aethoria watched as the pedestals merged into a single pulse of violet light. In that moment, the six felt an unbreakable unity coursing through their veins. Chapter 22, The Garden of Whispers. Beyond the corridors lay a vast garden of whispers, where silver bloom vines curled around crystalline thorns. Moonlight dripped like liquid mercury onto petals that murmured each hero's secret longing. Evelyne wandered among the vines and found Aldric kneeling at a pool of mirrored water. Their reflections shimmered with desire unspoken. He cupped her chin, frost flakes dusting her lips. "I will stand by you, always." Their lips met in a gentle promise of passion to come. Nearby, Sabrine discovered Kaelin tracing glyphs in sand. He looked up, eyes blazing with loyalty, and something more. She stepped close, their friendship blossomed into tender affection as he brushed a strand of hair from her face. In the shadowed alcove, Brakrýs and Aethoria shared a quiet moment by a runebloom fountain. He gently inscribed her palm with a rune of protection, and she placed her hand atop his chest. Their closeness ignited warm pulses of empathy. Friendship tempered by deep devotion. Chapter 23, Embrace of the Void. A sudden hush fell as the garden gave way to the void's embrace, an expanse of opalescent nothingness where gravity and time unraveled. Stars hovered within reach, nebulae coiled around them like living silks. Drawn by impulses beyond words, Evelyne and Aldric found a drifting platform of stardust. There, bathed in ghostly light, they let go of fear. Her frosted skin gleamed against his warm touch. He kissed the glowing runes on her wrist, awakening hidden fire. Their bodies entwined in the void's hush, each movement electric, each breath a covenant. As they touched, the cosmos pulsed in rhythm to their union, weaving their passion into the very fabric of elsewhere. Not far off, Sabrine and Kaelin discovered their own drifting promontory. Under the silent watch of infinite space, they shared a fierce, tender encounter, hands tracing scars and runes, voices lost in moans that echoed like starbursts. Their union sealed a promise to protect each other through every storm. Even Brakrýs and Aethoria yielded to the void's intimate hush. He traced frost runes across her collarbone, she responded by weaving ember glyphs into his hair. Their bodies melded in a dance of ice and flame, forging a bond beyond mere friendship. Chapter 24, The Well of Timeless Dreams. Reassembled, the six emerged from the void into the Well of Timeless Dreams, a circular pool of liquid light where all who drank glimpsed their truest selves. Drinks in hand, they sipped and watched as visions bloomed, Evelyne and Aldric ruling a united reef, Sabrine and Kaelin guiding new generations, Brakrýs and Aethoria crafting star forges anew. Tears glimmered on their cheeks, not of sorrow, but of hope strengthened by shared intimacy and trust. Aethoria spoke softly, "Our hearts have proven as powerful as any code." The well's surface stilled, granting them renewed purpose, to carry elsewhere's rebirth beyond the final threshold. Chapter 25, The Riftborn Legion. As they departed the well, alarms rang throughout the corridors. The Riftborn Legion, survivors of the time cage's collapse, had breached the next passage, twisted warriors with eyes like shattered clocks, seeking to claim the Shard of Insight. A fierce battle ensued in the Hall of Shattered Hours. Riftborn charged in twisted ranks while Aldric and Sabrine fought back to back. Evelyne froze enemy blades, Kaelin set rune traps that ensnared time wraiths, Brakrýs and Luminar unleashed crystal-forged blasts, Aethoria wove protective code shields. When the last Riftborn fell, silence reigned. Their weapons, broken clockwork swords, lay shattered at their feet. In the aftermath, the heroes tended each other's wounds, their bonds of trust unbreakable. Chapter 26, Prelude to the Beyond. Ahead lay a final arch, the Gate of Becoming, carved from living starlight and ancient code. Its surface rippled, reflecting the six in 1,000 variant forms, warriors, lovers, architects of worlds. Aethoria stepped forward, voice ringing, "We carry elsewhere's future in our unity." Each hero placed a hand upon the gate's threshold. Frostbrand's rune flared, Emberfall's emberglow pulsed, the serpent scale's timeglyph spun, the echo core's chord resonated, the Shard of Insight shimmered, and the oath-bound codex whispered its final vow. With one breath, they stepped through, and the gate dissolved behind them, leaving only an echo of starlight. Chapter 27, Embers of Longing. The heroes paused at the edge of a shimmering abyss, the auric chasm, where golden motes drifted like dying embers. Here, Aethoria's hand tightened in Aldric's, her eyes aflame with unspoken desire. She pressed close, breath warm against his ear. "When this is over, we must reclaim what we've lost." Her fingers traced the runes on his forearm, igniting them with a soft glow. Aldric swallowed, torn between duty and longing. He brushed a strand of ash-blonde hair from her face. "Every moment counts," he murmured, voice thick. Behind them, the others prepared their gear. Evelyne reforged Frostbrand's edge and ritual ice, Sabrine tuned Dawnpiercer's chords, Brakrýs and Luminar reinforced the code ward. But Aldric and Aethoria's embrace drew stares, concerned, amused, wary. Their bond, once a source of strength, now pulsed with raw heat that threatened to consume them both. As they stepped forward, the chasm's golden mist swirled, as if hungry for desire itself. The heroes crossed on a bridge of living light, each footstep echoing with the promise and peril of passion entwined with purpose. The infiltration's temptation. Their target was the vault of echoing winds, buried in the crystalline dunes of the Twilight Expanse. Inside lay the glyph of unbound stars, necessary to seal Elsewhere's final breach. Disguised in mirrored cloaks, the team slipped past sentries carved of living crystal. Aethoria's eyes flickered to Aldric with an intensity that made his skin crawl. When Evelyne signaled 2 o'clock, Aethoria brushed his arm, her fingertips trailing fire across frost runes. "Focus," Aldric gasped, mind splitting between the mission and the storm in her gaze. He followed Evelyne into the vault's antechamber, Aethoria a breath behind him, hips brushing as they moved. Inside, they discovered the glyph's chamber sealed by a puzzle of light and shadow. As Evelyne manipulated ice serpents weaving light strands, Aethoria leaned close to Aldric. Her lips grazed his ear, he shivered, ice and ember warring in his veins. A misjudged runeswipe shattered an ice serpent. Alarms of crystalline chimes rang out. Evelyne cursed. The mirrored cloaks flickered. Red sentries of living wind coalesced. Aldric's heart thundered, was it the sentry's approach, or Aethoria's nearness? He rallied, channeling Frostbrand's rune into a burst of blade light. The romance-fueled haste nearly cost them the glyph, only Evelyne's icy precision saved the hour. Chapter 29, Captured by Desire. Outside the vault, the team fled across dunes of shifting light. But Aethoria lagged, dazed by adrenaline and something deeper. She grabbed Aldric's hand, drawing him into a hidden rift, a pocket of rose-tinted mist. "Just one moment," she whispered, pressing against him with urgent need. Before Aldric could protest, she kissed him, lips searing against frost-chapped skin. The mist pulsed, revealing twin silhouettes of desire mirrors, illusions of them splayed across glowing dunes. Their world contracted to breath and flesh until a war cry shattered the rose haze. Riftborn skirmishers had found them. Aldric stumbled back as Aethoria, flushed, barely regained her wits. Evelyne's voice cut through panic, "Get clear." They fought side by side, Aldric's blade spinning ice whips, Aethoria's emberfall incinerating shadows. But every swing, every spark reminded them of the stolen kiss, and the danger of passion in an infiltration. Finally, Brakrýs toppled the last skirmisher with a frost ward barrage. Gasping, Aethoria pressed a hand to her racing heart. Aldric held her shoulder. "We can't afford that," he panted. She met his eyes, hurt and desire mingling. "I know," she breathed. Chapter 30, Fractured Trust. At the summit of unwritten fate, the heroes gathered the glyph of unbound stars. But tension crackled between Aldric and Aethoria. Later, as the group paused by a moonlit spring, Evelyne approached them. "Your bond is your strength," she said softly. "But it nearly broke us back there." Aldric looked at Aethoria. "I couldn't protect you." She traced a tear on his cheek with a soot-ruined finger. "I nearly cost us all." They stood in silence, the moon's reflection shimmering on water. Finally, Aethoria touched Frostbrand's pommel at Aldric's side and Dawnpiercer at her own. "We fight together, and for each other," she vowed. He nodded, and they clasped hands, friendship reforged, love tempered by duty. Chapter 31, Vow of the Bound Hearts. Their final obstacle loomed, the gates of endless night, where the rift's final breach threatened to swallow Elsewhere whole. As the 6 heroes scaled the obsidian arches, Aldric and Aethoria fell into formation side by side, trust restored, united purpose burning in their eyes. At the pinnacle, they faced the Rift Warden, a titan of living shadow and fractured time. Each hero unleashed their perfected arts, Evelyne's Blade of Frost, Sabrine's Cords of Light, Kaelin's Rune Winds, Brakrýs' Crystal-forged Code, Aethoria's Ember Flames, Aldric's Ice-Fire Synergy. In the climax, the Rift Warden collapsed into drifting motes, sealed by the glyph of unbound stars. A final pulse of reconciling light washed over the broken arch, healing the breach. On the gate's threshold, Aldric pulled Aethoria close. She whispered, "Our bond endures beyond rifts." He kissed her palm, where Frostbrand and Emberfall's runes interwove. Bound hearts, unbroken. As dawn unfolded Elsewhere's new tapestry, the six emerged, worn but resolute, love and friendship their greatest legacies. Chapter 32, The Celestial Gardens. Beyond the sealed gates of endless night lay the Celestial Gardens, a vast terrace carved into flowing ether. Flowers of opaline glass unfurled upon vines of living starlight. Their blossoms pulsed with the heartbeat of Elsewhere's core, each petal humming a lullaby older than creation. Aldric stepped onto the marble path, cool underfoot despite the garden's radiance. Evelyne's breath caught as she traced her fingers along an astral orchid, its petals dissolving into motes of silver dust at her touch. "Each life here is woven from memory," she whispered. Sabrine lifted her face to catch drifting pollen, each mote a captured dream. She closed her eyes, recalling moments of triumph and loss, weaving them into her resolve. Kaelin sketched rune lattices upon the air, guiding Brakrýs and Luminar to reinforce their protective wards. Aethoria stood at the garden's center beneath the moon tree, its branches of pale metal bearing fruits of soft incandescence. She plucked one fruit, its glow reflecting in her ruby-stained gaze. "Its light guides lost souls," she said, offering it to Aldric. When he accepted, their shared warmth banished the lingering chill of doubt. Chapter 33, The Echoing Forge. From the garden spiraled an obsidian staircase into the echoing forge, where creation and memory fused. Vast bellows of crystal pumped liquid time into braided filaments. The air rippled with molten echoes, each spark a fragment of worlds unmade. Brakrýs raised a hammer forged from dawn iron, its face inscribed with frost runes. He struck an anvil of living code, the resounding clang rippled like thunder across the forge's vault. "We reshape creation itself," he declared, eyes aflame. Luminar channeled the echo core's harmonic pulse, causing filaments to vibrate into patterns of pure possibility. Sabrine and Evelyne watched as the grains of reality reknit, forging a star-steel bulwark to seal the rift's final seam. Aethoria and Aldric stood side by side amidst the billowing steams of arcane metal. Sparks flew, ice embers dancing at their fingertips. "What we craft here will stand long after Elsewhere's dawn," Aethoria murmured. Aldric nodded, heart swelling with pride and belonging. Chapter 34, The Cathedral of Forgotten Prayers. Their path led downward into the Cathedral of Forgotten Prayers, a vast hall of vaulting arches carved from black obsidian. Niches lined the walls, each containing a glowing requiem, holographic echoes of prayers never uttered. They flickered like ghost lanterns, casting wavering shadows across carved pews of pure crystal. Evelyne ran her hand along a row of niches, each whispering a lost hope, a mother's lament, a soldier's vow, a lover's promise. She knelt before one, her own unspoken prayer for peace. The echo swelled, joining the chorus of silent longing that pulsed through the cathedral like a living heart. Sabrine raised Dawnpiercer's blade in silent reverence, its chords resonated with each prayer, weaving them into a single hymn. The hymn's purity banished the oppressive silence, replacing it with a soaring melody that filled every corner of the hall. At the altar, the six placed tokens of their journey. A frost gem, an ember seed, a silver scale, a crystal shard, a rune-etched band, and a petal from the moon tree. The altar flared, releasing a wave of luminous grace that stitched the broken prayers into Elsewhere's new liturgy. Chapter 35, The Valley of Hallowed Echoes. Emerging from the cathedral, they descended into the Valley of Hallowed Echoes, where every footstep rebounded with the laughter and tears of ages. Mists of memory coiled around ancient monoliths engraved with heroic deeds and tragic betrayals. Kaelin paused at a monolith depicting a lone figure raising Frostbrand and Emberfall overhead. "This echoes our journey," he said softly. "A testament to unity's power." Evelyne placed a hand on the carved figure's shoulder, feeling its cold stone pulse with shared legacy. Ghostly apparitions drifted through the valley, fallen allies now at rest. Aldric recognized the silhouette of his childhood mentor. He knelt, whispering a vow to honor that mentor's sacrifice. In response, the apparition bowed, a silent blessing. As they crossed the valley's floor, the collective echo guided them toward a distant barrier, the shimmering curtain, a membrane of pure possibility marking the border to unknown. Beneath its glimmer, their reflections shimmered with renewed purpose. Chapter 36, Heartfire Convergence. At the valley's far edge lay the Heartfire Convergence, where 6 streams of primal energy met: frost, ember, echo, dream, memory, and spirit. Each hero staked their emblem into the central brazier: Frostbrand, Emberfall, the Echo Core, Dreamdrake's Shard, the Glyph of Unbound Stars, and Aethoria's Moontree Fruit. The brazier flared, igniting a pillar of multicolored flame that spiraled into the sky. Each color represented one hero's essence, weaving into a single ribbon of pure unity. The pillar's glow bathed them, knitting their hearts ever closer. Evelyne and Aldric exchanged a charged glance as the flame enveloped them. Sabrine and Kaelin's hands brushed. Brakrýs and Luminar's eyes met in understanding. Aethoria's tears of joy sparkled like stardust. Together, they stood as one living heartfire, ready to face the unknown. Chapter 37, The Final Ward. Ahead stood the Ward of Becoming, a colossal diadem spun from living code and starlight. Its 6 facets corresponded to each hero's power: ice, fire, echo, dream, memory, and spirit. One by one, they approached and named their commitment. Evelyne placed Frostbrand's gem, pledging unwavering protection. Aldric affixed Emberfall's ember, vowing courageous leadership. Brakrýs encoded the Echo Core's pulse, promising unbroken faith. Sabrine sung through Dawnpiercer, swearing compassionate wisdom. Kaelin inscribed the Dreamdrake's Shard, offering boundless hope. Aethoria laid down the Moontree Fruit, gifting eternal unity. When the final facet lit, the ward's crown opened, revealing the veil of beyond, a luminescent gateway rippling with unseen worlds. It pulsed with both promise and portent. Chapter 38, Farewells at Dawn. In the hush before crossing the veil, the 6 gathered in the now silent Heartfire Convergence. Each shared quiet farewells and blessings. Evelyne wove Aldric a frost-ruined cloak. He taught her Emberfall's flame-heart steadiness. Sabrine gifted Kaelin a cord amulet. He inscribed her staff with dream runes. Brakrýs entrusted Luminar with a fragment of the Echo Core. She braided his hair with silver threads. Aethoria pressed a moontree blossom into each hand, symbols of their unbreakable bond. Tears glimmered as the sun rose in Elsewhere's dawn. The pillar of Heartfire dimmed, its purpose fulfilled. Each hero stepped forward, hearts intertwined, ready to face enigma beyond the veil. Chapter 39, Through the Veil. They crossed the veil of beyond as one. The world dissolved into swirling prisms of light and shadow. Time and space unraveled, sensations multiplied, memories of past, present, and potential futures entwined. A final chorus rose, Aethoria's voice harmonizing with Aldric's hope, Evelyne's ice, Sabrine's chords, Kaelin's maps, Brakrýs' code, Luminar's crystal pulse, all unified in a single heartbeat beyond comprehension. When their vision cleared, they stood at the threshold of a realm unseen, the Garden of First Light, where creation itself breathed anew, and where first challenge awaited. Chapter 40, Prelude to Elsewhere's Dawn. At the garden's edge, twin suns rose over an expanse of living nexi, stars anchored to living soil. Strange flora pulsed with nascent magic, rivers of molten starlight wound between crystalline groves. Their first sight was the primordial sentinel, a towering entity of braided light and shadow, its eyes twin galaxies swirling. It regarded them with ancient sentience, creator, guardian, and judge. Aethoria stepped forward, voice steady, "We come as bearers of Heartfire. We seek creation's first blessing." The sentinel's gaze swept each hero, probing their bond. Then it spoke, not in words, but in a pulse of radiant understanding, then shaped the dawn. Light flared. Elsewhere's dawn had begun,